Welcome traders to the Polaris Trading Group PTG University Indicator Review. Today's indicator we'll take a look at is known as the battle line. It's also referred to as a dynamic VWAP, and it identifies the key battle line between the bulls and the bears. All traders are aware and familiar with the volume weighted average price for the trade session. Though considered very important as it represents a line in the sand for the session, it's the battle for control between the bulls and the bears that is critical to measure. The battle line indicator is a dynamic version of VWAP, which continuously measures the dominant flow of volume and plots it as what we call the battle line. Successful traders stay on the side of the dominant Mr. Big. Our battle line will assure you know who is currently in control. So let's go to the charts and take a look at what this battle line looks like. Okay, so what we're looking at is an intraday chart of the S&P 500 E-mini. And this green and red hashed line here, as I'm pointing out, that is the session's volume weighted average price. It is a key benchmark for the day, generally speaking. Bullish above, bearish below. Pullbacks to the VWAP zone, as it's shown here, is a buying opportunity. If volume picks up and breaks down through that VWAP and then fails to recover back above it, then there's a shift that would indicate a shift going on. Well, there's a constant battle between the bulls and the bears throughout the course of the session. The VWAP itself gives us an overall weighted average for the entire session. But what about that battle between the bulls and the bears throughout the course of the session, which makes up that VWAP? Right? This is what we call the battle line, and this is where we want to focus. So this red and cyan dotted line here represents a dynamic version of the VWAP. It's ongoing throughout the day. It hugs price. It gets above and below. But what it's doing, it's constantly, as volume is being created in the marketplace, it's constantly assessing whether or not that volume is bullish volume or bearish volume. So simply, we want to always be focusing on where the dominant forces lie, and this is what this battle line will show us. So as you can see here on the bottom left hand side, where the session VWAP at the time was relatively neutral, okay, there wasn't much of a clue if you weren't using this type of an indicator to determine whether or not who was actually in control. At the time it was fairly neutral. We had a little bit of selling that came in just slightly below that VWAP, and then as you can see right here, okay, right at the VWAP, the battle line shifted from these red dots to these cyan dots. That tells us there's an important shift going on, that the selling that drove price down to this level couldn't be sustained, and buyers stepped in right around that VWAP zone, okay, and stepped in and bought the price. Price continued higher until it pulled back here. And as you can tell, the battle line was still engaging on a net basis buyers. Price eventually came down, retested this VWAP as it often does during the session. Okay, so the expectation would be to look for support coming into that VWAP area. But it wasn't really until price was able to get back above not only the VWAP, but its battle line, all right, and drove prices higher, okay, and then pulled back to this point in the day, that actually the bulls finally won the battle for control, okay, and continued on that through the remainder of the morning session here. So each time price pulled back to that battle line, at or around that battle line, new buys emerged. Okay, and it was clear at this point, as the morning was unfolding, that the battle between the bulls and the bears was won decisively by the bulls. So this is a very simple indicator. You use it just as any other moving average, but it's a moving average dynamically of volume, and volume and price are very important, and so the combination of the two forms that dynamic battle line between the bulls and the bears. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this indicator, and we'll see you at the next indicator update. Good trading, everybody.